there, this is Fabiola Martinez, and today I'm going to be talking to embroidery machine owners. And primarily when I am speaking today, I am talking to people that do own the Janome line of sewing and embroidery machines. I have purposely put these two pictures here on my screen in order to remind all of us that it's really, really important when we have a very high-end super wonderful combination sewing and embroidery machine that we take the time to read our instruction books. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who just want to be the type of learners that want to just poke around on their machines and discover for themselves, the secrets and the wonders of the machine. But I can't stress enough that almost every single question that a person might have regarding how to use both the sewing side of the machine as well as the embroidery side of the machine are covered pretty thoroughly, in my opinion, by the Janome instruction manuals. And so I do recommend, and I oftentimes, as I'm teaching classes to new embroidery machine owners, that I really do stress that you take the time to please do that. Another wonderful thing that is available to us as Janome owners is that we can go to the Janome website, and by putting into the search button on the website, we are able to actually access the online versions of our manuals. They come in a PDF version, and when we do that, we can download those manuals onto our computer as well as onto a tablet or an iPad, that sort of a thing. And so we can carry that manual virtually with us as we travel. Maybe you might be sitting in an airplane somewhere, going far away, and you've got time to read through your manual, or on a road trip in your car. So enough said about that. You know my feelings on it, and I feel like as a Janome instructor that I can't say enough about the value of learning your machine by reading your manuals. But today, as embroidery machine owners, one of the things that I just want to try to also encourage everyone to do is that it's a whole process of learning. There are oftentimes people that have never had a machine that is actually a computer, and it's a little bit difficult of a concept sometimes to comprehend the fact that this computerized sewing machine has some functions in it that are very, very similar to and almost exactly like how things work on an actual PC computer. So for that reason, one of the things that Janome has done for the users of the machine is when you buy these high-end machines, most of them are going to come with a little software program. In the case of the Janome MemoryCraft 12,000 machine, that program is called the Horizon Link. In the case of the Janome 15,000 machine, it's called the Horizon Link Suite. And then for our 500 series of machines, they come with a little program called Embroidery Editor. For the Skyline 9 machines, they come with one that's called AccuTool S. So every machine virtually has a simple little program which will also enable us to get designs that we have downloaded or that we have purchased, and we are able to work with them on the computer screen and then send those designs and those projects over into our sewing machines. So there is a bit of a learning curve if you're not familiar with how file structures and all of that work on a computer, which is one of the things that I do want to go over with all of us today. So the process here for getting designs from a purchased source is that we need to download those designs. And this is my number 2 here on my list. But first of all, I do like to talk to people about, first of all, setting up a file system on our computer. The reason why is because once we have a file system set up on our computer, we can organize our designs so that we are going to be able to find them and use them when we want to use them. Now, this is one of those things where, depending on the way that your own organizational skills work and the way that your own brain thinks, some of us may want to do this process a little bit differently, and I'm going to show you my own particular file system on my computer. The reason why I would like to start there actually is because having this set up before we ever start to get to the process where we are downloading our designs is because then we know where we're going to be downloading those designs to in order, as I just said, to be able to find them and use them. And then the last step of this process is actually how we are going to be transferring those designs into our media, which can be a USB, or we could be using a direct connect cable. Some of these machines, like our Skyline 9 series, as well as our Janome 15,000 machines, have Wi-Fi capabilities. So, there's a whole lot to learn. We're not going to cover every single thing in this video today, because if I did that, I would probably be sitting here for probably several hours. When I actually teach this class as a live class with my local students, we spend the better part of a day together. So I'm going to try to be as concise as I possibly can, hopefully in enabling you to figure out some of this stuff if you don't know it already. And some of this may be familiar to a lot of you. So first of all, let's talk about our file system on our computer. I am running a Windows 11 computer. And as such, I'm going to just shut down that screen right now. Excuse me about that. Some of the icons and the way that the file folders and so forth are going to look on here might be a little bit different than on your computer, depending on what version you're running. So down here on your bottom taskbar, this is called the taskbar, and this is a basic computer function where we are able to customize this, and we can put the little tiles on here, also called shortcuts, for the things that we want to access frequently. And so one of the ones, I think it actually will come pre-programmed this way, is that your File Explorer, which is a little manila envelope, looks like something that you would see on a desk in an office, is our little place where we are going to navigate. That means move around and find things and store things within our computer. So File Explorer, keep that name in your mind. File Explorer, when you first open it up, is going to have some features in it that may be a little bit complicated for some people to comprehend, because it has a big old long toolbar along the left-hand side. And what I want to say about this toolbar is that depending on where we click on it over here, it's going to also expand over here into the bigger screen. So many of these things that we're going to see on the left-hand part of the toolbar, such as the desktop, we're also going to see in this big screen here. Okay, so we can get to places in a multiple of different ways. So on our computers, and in most of our computers, and depending upon the age of the computer, depending on the type, most of us have our main storage system for our File Explorer within the Windows C drive. However, on my computer, you're going to see here that my Windows C drive actually is not the place when this computer was configured where the majority of the storage space is actually at. And so in my case, most of my stuff is over in the Documents D drive. And so that's where I have my embroidery folder. So the first thing that we're going to do is figure out, how do you create a folder? So let's just come over into my D drive. For you, again, it may be your C drive, and I'm just going to double click on that with my left mouse button. Now, again, most of the time when we talk about clicking, when we're on a Windows-based computer, we're talking about using our left mouse button. That's how most of the mice for our computers are set up. You can customize that as well in settings if that's not your own preference. Or maybe if you're a left-handed person, you might be using, let's just say your left hand, you might want to be using your right mouse button as your main clicker. It just kind of depends on you. Not going there. I'm not going to be teaching you how to do that. But at any rate, you can see now I'm in my PC and I'm in my Documents D folder, and you're going to see right here that I've got a folder called Favi's Embroidery. Now I want to talk a little bit about how I name my embroidery folder. When you name folders within your computer, they are always going to be in either numeric order, depending on if it's got like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in front of the name. It's going to be in numeric order, followed by characters, such as what you can see here. I've got a little and symbol in front of my name for Favi's Embroidery, and then it will be in alphabetical order. So for my file structure on my computer, as you can see here, my Documents folder, I've got lots of stuff inside there, and I named it with the hashtag symbol, also known as the pound symbol, document, so that it comes up first. And then this is just something I don't even know what that is. But my next folder, because I access these two folders quite frequently and the things within them, I have called it the at and symbol, Favi's Embroidery. This is what it looks like. Don't be scared. When I click on it, I have got many, many folders that I have created depending on either one of two things. Either sometimes I name them by the type of design, sometimes I name them by a company. All right, do you know how to create a folder? Really simple. All you have to do is, using the right mouse button on your mouse, right click in the space, say new, and then you can click on a folder. It's as simple as that. When you scroll down through your list of things, it's going to have this little blue shape around it to show that that is the one that we just made. Having a little trouble getting my mouse to stay there. And we really don't want to call it new folder. So what we can do with it then is we can right click on it once again, and we can come to this little symbol. Yours may look a little bit different because, as I said, my computer just updated to a brand new version of Windows 11. And this is our rename button. So when we click on rename, we're going to see that this turns blue and it's got a little flashing cursor next to it. And all we need to do is type in our new name for what we want to call our folder. In this case, I'm just going to call it class. Okay? And then I just hit my enter button and I've got a new folder created. It's called class. If I double click on it to open it, it's empty. There's nothing within it. That's how you create your folder structure, your file structure on your computer. Once again, inside some of these folders, I may have multiple folders within them. Now, I want you to pay attention to this because this, again, is one of those ways in which we are going to be able to keep our designs organized. I like to think of this system as kind of like having your dresser, and it has lots of drawers within it. Lots of drawers. Nobody has a dresser or a bureau or a chest of drawers or whatever with this many drawers in it. But I like to think of it as drawers because this is the cabinet. Favi's Embroidery. That is the cabinet, or that is the dresser. And within it, I've got drawers to hold my different things. All of us have a drawer that has our socks, maybe our undergarments in another drawer, maybe we have sweaters in another one. You get the idea, right? Another way that we organize things, at least I do anyway in my own garment drawers, is that I have, in some of them, I have little boxes to help further organize my things. And these are my little boxes within my drawers. All right, so here we've got some projects inside there, and I've just saved that whole design project inside that drawer with its proper name on it. You get the idea of what I'm talking about here? Mine is super organized. I've been at this for over 20 years, and so I've got thousands and thousands of designs that I have purchased and downloaded from different places. So let's talk about downloading our designs. You know, one of the things that sometimes complicates people's lives is the browser that they are using. So what a browser is that is your Google Chrome. It may be Firefox. You may be using the Edge browser that comes with our Microsoft computers. Every single one of them is going to have in it a place where we can actually help ourselves to figure out how we are downloading our designs. And by what I mean by this is up in the upper right-hand corner, we've got three little dots. And I'm hoping that this is showing up well. And when we click on our three little dots, this is where we can access the settings for our browser. So when I'm in Google Chrome right now, and when I come down to settings down here, we click on this, and over here in our left hand, let's see if I've already done this many times. We can click on this download folder right here, and it's going to open up this little window, and it's going to give us an opportunity to choose where we are saving our files when we download them. Always click this to be on, all right? Because what will happen in just a few moments when I actually download a free design is that it's going to ask me where I want to save this file. And then I can navigate to my folder where I want to save that file. It's not just going to get dumped into the download folder. The reason why I like to do this is because when things just get dumped into the download folder, later on we've got to go open up that folder, we've got to find that design, and then we have to move it into the file structure that we've got in our documents folders. It just takes extra steps. And so for me, time is valuable. I like to be organized. I don't like to forget that I have files that might be waiting over in that download folder. I like to deal with them right away. All right, so that's what we do with this. And I'm going to just close out this settings because I don't need to change it, but you may need to. Right now I'm on a window that is a website where this kind lady gives us a free letter every day of the week. And the way that we get there, and I'm just going to do this so that I can show you how to download a design in case you aren't comfortable with that process yet. This is the design right here. As I said before, because I have my download folder settings set to ask me where I'm going to put this, this is my save as screen that comes up. Save as, okay? Where do I want to go? Now, what happened here is that the last time I downloaded something, that's what's going to open up here in this window. So I want to navigate by just clicking backwards on this little navigation bar or this pathway to the place where I want to store this design. And in this case, I've got a folder called Fonts and Monograms. The person who gave me this design right now is named Betty. And I think that the file set was called, gosh, I don't even really know. I'm just going to open up one. I think I'm going to call this one the Holly Berries. Oh, look, here's the name. Pink and Green Holly, and it's letter Y. Let me see, did I start a folder for this? Yep, I did. Pink and Green Holly, I'm going to open it up. Here are all the zipped folders. We'll deal with those in a few moments. And all I'm going to do now is I'm verifying that I'm in my proper folder, and I'm going to select Save. Down on my bottom screen and up on the top, my virus protection is checking the download to make sure it's safe. Down here on the bottom, it'll let me know when it's done. All right, friends, next what we're going to do is I'm just going to click on here, and I'm going to say that I want to show this in the folder. So this is what I mean by I like to deal with my designs right away. And so I would highly recommend that if you don't have time when you have purchased a design set or are downloading a design, not so much, maybe when it's a free design, it's not quite as important, but when you've purchased something that you take the time to come and deal with it right away. So if you're really busy, you know, maybe you need to make a little note to come back and get to this point a little bit later. So here we've got our file. I'm just going to come up here to my view tab, and I'm going to say I want extra large icons so that I can really see what's going on here. It's easy. Microsoft has a built-in unzipper. And all we need to do is we need to just use our right mouse button and hover over this folder. And we need to say extract all. When we do that, this is telling us where that folder is extracting to. Right now it's in that, this is the same pathway right here that we see up here. And it's going to put this design into this folder. And so I'm going to say extract. So that's unzipping it. It also means that we don't need to be purchasing another unzipping or decompressing program because it's already built into our computer. Here's my unzipped folder. I can double click on it to open it. Aha, this is one of the ones that has, and this just kind of depends on the way that the digitizer has dealt with her designs. Sometimes we'll have a folder within a folder. Sometimes we'll have many folders within that folder. Just kind of depends. So let's double click on it, and you're going to see here that she's included many different formats of that particular letter. We're Janome owners in this group, and so our file format that we typically are going to be using is the JEF file. Most of us don't have all of these other machines, you know, for Brother, Baby Lock, Viking, Husqvarna, Singer, etc. But what I like to tell people is all of this stuff takes up space on our computers. And for me, I don't see any real purpose in keeping a bunch of files for machines that I'm never going to own. Now, the caveat on that also is that if you have a digitizing program, or maybe even one of the free programs that we are able to download from different software companies, we could always convert one of these formats. Let's just say for now that I'm using my Janome machine, but 4 years down the road, I go and I purchase a Baby Lock machine, which is going to use the PES format. You know, I could use my programs, my computer programs, software, digitizing, etc., to actually convert that original JEF file over into a Baby Lock file. So for me, I don't recommend keeping all of this stuff. Typically what I will do is I save the art format because my particular digitizing program can read the art format, and it's almost like a pure digitized file. If you're not a digitizer, that probably won't make much sense to you, but I save the art format if there's one available, and I save the GIF. So I'm just clicking on these by holding down my control key and clicking on them. I will right click on this now, and I will say that I want to copy it. This is the copy icon. Then I will go back up here into the main folder for this pink and green holly folder, and I'm just going to right click here in the blank space, and I'm going to paste them. Oh, it says I've already got 2 with these names in them, and that's interesting. I'm just going to say, let me decide. Oh, because I opened up the A folder. Let's just keep the A's. I thought I had opened the Y that I just downloaded. Anyway, that is a demonstration on how we get those designs. Let's do another one. Let's extract the Y very quickly here. Here's my Y. Double clicking to open it. You know, and sometimes there's other information things in here that you might also want to save. So just kind of give that a little look at. Let's either cut them, because if we're just going to throw away this folder, sometimes I like to just cut them out of there. Back up to the main folder, right click in the blank space and paste them. All right, so I like doing that. And I also like showing you that this is the file folder, or the file. It's a little JPEG image of the design itself. And it has a little color list on it. It's not showing up real well here on my screen, but sometimes these files are very important for us to keep. So that is how we download. That is how we unzip. That's how we open them up. And that's also how later on, you know, we can just come back in here and we can say, you know, I don't need this zip folder anymore. So in order to get rid of that, I can right click on it and I can just say trash can, throw it away. It's gone. All right, that will help keep our designs organized. I also want to mention that in the Edge browser, which a lot of us are enjoying using because supposedly it is a little bit better protected with our Microsoft computers, you've also got your little 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner for setting your settings. So we'll just go through that quickly. It's down here toward the bottom. Settings. And over here on the left-hand taskbar, we've got a download folder. Make sure, again, ask me what to do with each download is turned on. All right, and that will help greatly when it's time for you to start downloading designs. I'm going to close my browsers now, and the next topic that we're going to be talking about is how we're going to transfer designs. So this is where sometimes things get a little bit complicated, and it's actually quite helpful for each one of us to remember that some of the instructions for all of this process are going to be, again, in our manuals. This is one of the ways I'm going to talk about transferring designs. And it is, if you don't have any software and you don't have any software open, you can just simply do it through using your File Explorer system. So step number 1, however, is that we all have a process within our sewing machine. I need to just start collapsing some of these windows because I've got this, every single thing is open here on my embroidery folder. Let's go back to Fabi's embroidery. All right, so you need to have a USB stick. All right, Janome recommends that we use a USB that's not larger than about a 16 gigabyte. However, small capacity USBs are becoming harder and harder to find these days. And the larger capacity ones will work. Now, the danger of them is, there's a couple of different dangers about using USB sticks that have super large capacity. Actually, it applies to any of our using a USB stick. And that is, USB will fail on us. And sometimes they will fail on us without any warning. Someday we may just be happily embroidering along and we go to our computer and we put a design onto our USB and we take it to our machine and plug it in, and guess what? The machine doesn't want to read the USB because sometimes they just go bad. When they go bad unexpectedly, everything that's on that USB is going to be lost. It's a tragedy if we haven't saved them within our wonderful little file structure on our computer firsthand. So that's one of the warnings why we don't want to put a lot of things on there. And we especially don't want to put things on there that we might want to come back and use again someday, especially if we have purchased them. The other thing is that when we've got a lot of stuff packed onto our USB stick, it takes our machine a little bit longer to try to access all of those files. So not putting a whole lot on there because it slows down our machine is one thing. And like I said, if they fail on us unexpectedly, we lose them. That's also not a good thing. So you get a brand new USB stick. What we do with that is we take it over to our embroidery machine. And in the settings mode of our embroidery machine, we go through until we find the page that says format. And you put your USB into your machine and you click that little format button. A window's going to come up and it's going to warn us that if there's anything on that USB stick already, it's going to wipe it out. So make sure that if there is something on it, that you've already saved that elsewhere so you don't lose it. And that's the process. When that USB stick has been created, I'm going to come down here now to my navigation bar, and I've got my USB for my 15,000 here. It's called Fiona because Fiona is the name of my machine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on Fiona so that you can see it here in the big screen. What happens when we format a USB on our machine is it creates two main folders. EMB, which stands for embroidery, and an ORD, which stands for ordinary. If your machine is a 500 series of machines, which is an embroidery only machine, you will only have an EMB folder created. Okay, but on our sewing and embroidery machines, we will have both of these folders created. Within these folders, the formatting process creates one other folder. It's this one right here. It's called the EMBF, and it just means embroidery folder. All right, so it will have one folder within the main folder. Same thing goes for the ORD folder. And the ORD folder is going to have an ORDF folder. This is the folder, mine's empty right now, but this is when we are using our software program for transferring decorative stitches and stitches that we've made in our Stitch Composer program. This is where they're going to get put so that we can find them on our machine. Let's come back to the EMB folder. So within the EMB folder, again, just like I started off by saying a little while ago, it's sort of the same kind of file structure that we've got on our PC, on our computer. We can create folders within here to keep our projects organized, and you can see some of the ones that I have currently been working on here. On our upper end machines, and I'm talking about the 15,000 in particular because I don't own a Skyline 9. I do have a 15,000 and a 12,000. And I know that some of the older machines, we could only have one level of folders within our EMB folder. We couldn't have another level inside, let's say, my Angel folder here. Or let me open this one because this is a project I'm currently teaching a class on. And in here, I can put another level of folders that I've got some designs in. That applies to the 15,000 machine. I'm not so quite certain that it can do it with other machines. But one of the unique things about our newer machines also is that we can just put our designs in the EMB folder, like this one here. I call this Be Naked. It's not inside of a folder. It's not inside of a box. It's just all by itself. And my machine can also find this design to stitch it out. So I don't want to confuse people, but there's multiple ways that we can put designs onto our USB and our machine will be able to find them. All right, so keep them organized. Don't pack too much on here. And the other thing is I'll try to put on a little additional video with me actually sitting on at my computerized sewing machine and showing you how we navigate around within that USB stick when we're at the machine. But basically, it's the same way that we're looking at them here on a computer screen. So one of the ways that we can add a design into our USB stick is find your folder. I'm Fabi's Embroidery. I'm just going to go into design. I don't even know what I'm going to look for. I think I'll just hopefully find something that's got a little design in here. Here's one. It's in this folder here, and it's a Jeff design. So what I can do with this is I can right-click on top of it. I can copy it. And I'm going to tell you, ladies, that I prefer to do a copy and paste over. Let's go back to this PC. Let's find my USB stick. It's right here. Double click on it. Find my EMB folder. Right click on my Angel folder and paste it. Let's see if she's there. I think it's that little file right there. So then I would be able to stitch that design out on my embroidery machine. Now, one of the reasons that I do like to do the copy and paste like I just showed you is that because sometimes when we do the drag and drop, you know, it kind of depends on what our little side taskbar looks like over here. If we've got a bunch of windows open, it can get a little bit confusing. And the other thing that I have actually seen happen is that people will sometimes, so see, I'm collapsing so I can find where I'm at. I'm at my USB stick here. I'm in my EMB folder here. Here is my Angel folder here. So technically, I could just hold down my left mouse button and I can move this design over to my Angel folder. All right. But did you see what just happened on my screen? This is telling me that it wants me to insert a disk into my CD drive right now. Well, and my CD drive on my computer just popped open. And so I'm like, well, you know, that gets a little bit complicated. It's kind of like it's a funny little thing that's happening right now. And the other thing that can happen when this sort of a interesting, unexpected thing happens, it can actually corrupt our stitch file. I have seen it happen. So that let's just say we drag it over, we put it into our Angel folder. It's giving me the warning that it's already there. So I'm going to say yes. Let's go ahead and replace it. But I have actually seen that when people have done this drag and drop method, that sometimes it corrupts the file and then we get our design, USB design into our machine and the machine can't find it, even though we think we put it into the proper folder and we're looking at the proper folder. So my preferred method, as I said again, is to right click on it, copy it, and then navigate to the place we want to put it and right click and paste. Personal preference because I've seen things go bad. All right, so what do I want to talk about next? Okay, so the next way that we can also work with these things in transferring designs is we can use our software programs that came with our computer. Let me just shut down some stuff here. And I'm going to come to my particular desktop and I'm going to double click on my Horizon Link suite. You all probably can't see that very well because my home screen is pretty big right here. All right, so the Embroidery Link tool. Now, first of all, I have a whole set of videos about using Horizon Link Suite, so I'm not going to go into great detail about any of the other functions on here right at this time. The one main thing you need to do is, if you have never used this program before, is that you need to install the driver. That means that this is the little communication brain between your computer and your machine. And once you have installed this USB driver for your machine, then you can use your direct connect cable. Then you can use some of the other transferring functions of the machine to the computer back and forth. Okay, so make sure you do install the driver. What will happen is when you click on this, a little window will pop up and it's going to ask you if you want to allow it to make changes to your computer, and you will say yes. It's safe, so we say yes. All right, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to come to the Embroidery Link tool, and we will click on it, and it may take a couple of seconds for it to decide to open up. Here we go. And when we do this, once again, I'm going to tell you I've got other videos about all of this, but let's just simply say, let's go to Edit the Embroidery Designs. When we come here, this little function here is going to work very similarly to the Edit screen of our embroidery machine. That's the little picture on the machine that looks like a grid similar to this on the home screen when we're in embroidery. First thing we want to do probably is we want to select our hoop size, and that's under this embroidery edit. So when we select our hoop size, we are only going to be able to open up designs that are going to fit inside that hoop that we have selected. So for example, if I picked my little teeny tiny free arm hoop, the only designs that are going to show up when I come to my design folder to try to open a design are the little bitty ones. So if you're just working on a project and you don't really know what you want to do, but you want to have access to every Jeff design or JPX design or Jeff Plus, then you need to select the biggest hoop available, because then your program will be able to find everything that you might have stored in your file folders. The next thing is to come on over to your design tab. Now, sometimes this gets a little bit hung up and it takes a little while for the communication to work and start to open up between your computer and this little program. Sometimes it works seamlessly and as quick as a wink, and then other times it just wants to take its own sweet time. Today it looks like it's going to take a little bit of time. There we go. So when we open this up, this folder that's right here, that's called our design folder, that is going to be all the designs that are built into your machine are also going to be part of this program. I'm going to come on over to my document D folder, and I'm going to open up a design out of my Favi's Embroidery. So I'm just single clicking on these folders. I don't need to double click or anything. It just kind of goes pretty quickly. Let's open up this folder. Let's open up this geranium design, and I'm going to open up this design right here just by single clicking on it. Got several designs here. So now it's popped into my screen, and I can see that it's quite a bit smaller than my entire GR hoop. It's got a little green boundary box around it, which means that if I wanted to, I could move it and reposition it. And I could even add in other things into this design if I wanted to. I'm going to quickly come to the Edit tab and just center that back into the center again. And the next thing I'm going to do is go back home, and I'm going to pick a smaller hoop. Looks like it'll fit in my square 23. It actually even looks like it might fit in my RE18 hoop. Yeah, it does. That's pretty cool. So always remember too that using the smallest hoop size that your design is going to fit in is always the best stitch out that you're going to get. So here is my design. What I want to do with it is I want to send it over into my USB stick. So I'm coming back to the Home tab. I'm going to write a design. When I write a design, little window pops up over here, and we've got a choice of where we want to send our design to. First of all, let's look at the left side of the screen. We've got a choice of giving this design a name, because right now it's just called Untitled, and they actually call this a Jeff Plus file. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call this the Geranium. Hope I spell that right. And I'm going to say OK. So now we've got a geranium name, and I'm going to send it somewhere by using that red arrow. Where do I want to send it? Well, if I had my cable connected between my computer and my sewing machine, I could send it directly over by using this built-in folder. If I click on this right now, because I'm not in the same room as my computer's not in the same room as my sewing machine, I could double click on this, but it's going to tell me that it's not going to find this. Yeah. Okay, so I do have to have that connected. So these are the places where I could send it to my sewing machine. I could send it to the built-in folder of my sewing machine, or I could send it into a USB stick that is installed in either port number 1 or port number 2 if I had those USB sticks in those ports. Or I can send it right now. I'm at the PC, and my USB stick for my machine is actually in my computer, and so the program knows that. So I'm going to double click on my Fiona folder. And next I'm going to choose one of my folders here to send my design into. Well, let's just say I wanted to put this into a new folder. Let's say that I want to create a new one. Hey, look, how simple is that? Come down here and you see that little blue star next to a folder? That's a new folder. That is exactly the same scenario as what we just did a little while ago on our computer screen. It even has the little blue box on it, which means that I can give it a new name. So let's right click on that and let's say rename, and I'm going to call this folder Flowers. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit my enter button on my keyboard and click off of that. And I'm clicking on it now. My flower folder is open, and I'm able to send my geranium design into my flower folder. Let's just make sure that it's actually there. Let's come on down to our taskbar on our computer screen for our File Explorer. And let's navigate over to my USB stick by double-clicking on it. Let's click on our embroidery folder. There's my brand new flower folder. And there's my geranium design. And one of the reasons why I wanted to open this up and show this to you is because when we transfer a design from our Horizon Link software, we're now going to see that there's two little design files here. Our original Jeff Plus, and now we've got this funny one called a JBP. Now, what this is as I've been heard, is that this is sort of like the image of this actual physical stitch file. And, you know, if I were to delete this JBP by right-clicking on it and trashing it, I could do that, and my machine will still read this design perfectly fine and stitch out perfectly fine. But a lot of people have questions about this JBP, and they're like, what is that? Now, your design will not stitch if that's all that's on this memory stick. Okay, so anyway, that's just one of the neat things about this program. Back to Horizon Link and our edit mode, another way that we can deal with this design. And again, I'm not next to my sewing machine. I don't have my direct connect cable selected. I could hit this send button right here and it would send it on over to my machine. So I probably would have been a bit smarter, wouldn't I, if I had planned this ahead of time and gone to my sewing loom and turned this thing on. But I'm sorry I didn't do that. But that's another way that we can send. I decided I probably ought to go ahead and connect my machine. So I have paused the video and come on over into my sewing studio. So I connected my computer to my sewing machine using that direct connect cable. Now when I say that I want to send a design to the sewing machine, I'm going to have a couple of different options that will be available to me. But prior to that, let's come on up to this little button up here in the upper left-hand corner of our screen. This is called an applications button, quite useful for many different things. But one of the things that it has here is our connection settings. So when we click on connection settings, we're going to have a choices if we want to try to send our design through the Wi-Fi connection in our home. In the order for that to work, we actually have to have set that up in the settings Wi-Fi section of our machine first. But I'm going to be using my USB, all right? So it's not quite as critical to search for my machine when I'm using the USB because obviously my computer and my machine are going to be connected. If I'm on the Wi-Fi section, you'll see that this actually got a little bit brighter, which means that I could actually search for my machine and it would pop up here. Let's go back to USB because that's what we're talking about right now. And now when I say that I want to send a design, I'm clicking on it, and I wish that you could see, but the design just appeared over on my Ready to Sew screen. Actually, it's in the edit mode right now. I just took a peek over there, and this geranium design is now on my machine, and it's ready for me to sew it out. Or if it's in the edit mode, I could make some changes to it. So that's how simple it is to use the direct connect cable. And that's how easy it is also to write that design onto our USB stick and send it on over. The other way that we could also do something is if we wanted to receive a design, again, through this direct connect cable, the same sort of a process would work. And so what I'm going to do right now is I keep chattering to you, and I'm hoping that the sound level will pick up pretty good over here. What I'm doing on my sewing machine screen is I just deleted this geranium design. And what I'm going to do is open up a different design on my screen and quickly just open up something. I picked a little elephant. I'm going to say okay. So that little elephant is now on the screen of my sewing machine. It's also going to fit inside this RE hoop. I just noticed. You may hear my machine making some noises in the background. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to say I want to receive a design. Said there's a message on the machine screen. Oh, that means I just, over there I have to say okay. Okay. Send that screen away. So let's receive it. Oh, something happened. The two things are different. Well, that demonstration failed. I don't know why. Maybe because I need to be, I don't know. Let's see if I can get it to receive now. Yeah, there we go. I had to go back to the edit mode in order for this elephant to pop up over here. Not in the Ready to Sew screen, but in the edit mode. And there it is. So that's how we can send designs back and forth. Isn't that cool? Again, we could also use some of these file manager buttons and things like that. I do talk about these functions in other videos that I have on my YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to come back to where we were starting at. Embroidery machine owners, read your manual. You may not like doing that, but I highly suggest it. So we talked about creating a file system on our computer and the value in doing that so that we then know when we're downloading our designs where we're going to put things so we can find them again. And we also talked about when we do download designs, how do we deal with them? How do we extract them so that they can then be put onto our USB stick or into our little Horizon Link program so that we can send them to our machine. And then we talked about how we are going to transfer those designs. So once again, I just want to encourage you all to play around with your machine. When you sit in front of your sewing machine and you just start pressing buttons and looking around and seeing what things do, you're not hurting your machine. So don't be afraid of it. Mechanically, it's a pretty strong, sturdy machine. And as long as you're not being rough with it and, doing things that actually might damage the machine, pushing buttons on the screen is not going to hurt anything. So don't be afraid to investigate. And I hope that this video has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can comment on the page on the YouTube channel where this is posted, and you can ask questions, and I hope I can continue to help you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.